Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Marc Beshears, who's an entrepreneur and founder of Top Wealth Agenda. Marc, welcome to the program.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Hey, so I love how you start off your title as entrepreneur, right? Because that's what we all are. And it doesn't matter whether you work for a company or you're punching the clock. If we have an entrepreneurial mindset, that's really key. That's creativity. That's taking ownership. That's watching for opportunities. In fact, I've taught a class before at the college level. It's called intrapreneurship, and that's a thing. So talk to us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and what led you to this point in your career.
Sure, I'm happy to. And I definitely have been an entrepreneur my entire life. And even as a kid, watching my parents as entrepreneurs, open their small businesses and then turn them into a little bit bigger businesses and things like that. So it's been in my nature. But I would say that my trail was not the normal one. I started in the golf industry of all places. I was a golf pro, and then next thing I know, I was running the country clubs, and next thing I know, I'm running 11 country clubs or resorts in the southeast region, and worked for Goldman Sachs and one of the big boys. And what happened to me though, from 1997 to 2007, out of college, climbing the corporate ladder, and financially had the worst financial decade possible. If you remember the dot-com crash and
yes,
9/11, all the way through the real estate crash and the financial meltdown. And so I didn't go to school for financial planning or things like that. I went to school in the business world and basically was told by all the the smart people, your HR department, here's what you do with your 401k plan, sign here. And so I was doing all those basic things that people were told to do, and you don't know any wiser. Society is conditioning us to just kind of follow the herd. And after a decade of nothing but market crashes was just eye-opening to me, and it caused a lot of pain, if you will. And so I stumbled on my cash value, dividend paying, whole life insurance concept from my attorney, who said, we were doing a little asset protection. He said, do you have any? And I'm like, why would I need that? And he said, well, it's creditor proof should anything go really south. And so I started to look into it. And next thing I know, all the benefits that were being shown to me was a big surprise. And then I'm like, how come nobody told me about this financial tool? And I was working for Goldman Sachs of all people, right?
You would have thought they would have had.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't. They steered me, down the traditional path of which I call, qualified plans, which means we're directing our money into a tax deferred arena. But the problem with that is it didn't help me be liquid. And as an entrepreneur, you have to have liquidity to be able to take advantage of opportunities that arise. Not to mention a decade worth of crashes. I think it was about a 50% loss over that decade. Whether it was real estate or the stock market or 401k plans, it just didn't matter. I got hit every which way. So I did a 180-degree turn and said, I'm going to reposition all my assets and use this tool. And in the meantime, I'm going to open up my shop and tell as many people and help people get off of the social conditioning of where to put your money. And so that's how I got into this industry, and I've never looked back, and I've never had a bad day with my clients. We never had that phone call to say, hey, we lost some of your money.
Yes.
And our favorite tagline is, we're at a new all-time high every day.
It's interesting how you laid that out, and I want to kind of touch on one thing that jumps out to me, and maybe other people would feel the same way. But, you look back over a couple decades and, you think about, 9/11 and this crash and that crash and COVID and all. None of those things we had any warning about, and nobody, like the dictator in Greece wakes up and makes this proclamation and causes our markets to crash. We never know, this is coming, so we may as well, make this financial move or that financial move. Things just happen. And if you're at the mercy of the markets and world events, wow, your portfolio, your 401k can turn into a 201k really quickly. So that's kind of my realization of what you just described. And then now you hear from a trusted source of yours, an attorney that goes, here's something, maybe not to put all your eggs in this basket, but here's an interesting way to help mitigate some of those, topsy-turvy turbulence, right?
That's correct. I kind of liken it to a pyramid, a financial pyramid. You certainly want your base to be rock solid, ironclad, in your control, and liquid if you need it.
Yes.
But where society's been pushed and misled is just what I said. That HR department hands you that 401k. So you're thinking you're saving for your future in this 401k when you're actually investing / putting at risk those dollars. And when you don't have control of it, at the meantime, you're really a little helpless. So what I like to help people do is we do a little financial MRI, and we figure out where is that money going each and every month, and how do we build that foundation first before you take maybe some risk in your portfolio.
And it reminds me of, like, you hear on Shark Tank or business shows, you'll go, hey, we earned $1 million in revenue last year. And it's like, Yahoo, good job. And then come to find out you had $1.4 million in expenses. So what does that really matter? So, like you're saying, I'm putting money into this or this or this vehicle, financial vehicle, whether it's a 401k or whatever you've been told traditionally, because that's what people do is they tell you, put your money here, put your money there. And you've heard these letters before, IRAs and 401ks and all these letters, and you're like, yeah, I've heard that before, so may as well do it. But what you don't realize is it's kind of like that proverbial bucket with holes in it. It's going in, and that's all you think about. You check the box, but is it going into the right bucket, and is it getting fees, too many fees, or taxes coming out, or when you take it out now, later the other, or you have penalties? So talk a little bit about having this cash value life insurance opportunity idea. How is that different than some of these strategies that typically people are hearing about?
Sure. So that, I keep talking about the HR department, but, even your CPAs are conditioned to say, let's find a way to defer your taxes today.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll be a little better off this year. But did that really make you better off later in life? Do we think taxes are going up or down in your future? Well, nobody knows, right? But if you really look at history, we're at technically a low period over the last century. So for them to go lower is not very likely and or probable. So if that's the case, that taxes may go up, then why are we putting our money into a vehicle that we owe taxes later at a higher rate?
Right. Yeah. Because most people would agree that taxes are probably going to go up in the future rather than down.
Nobody has the crystal ball.
Nobody knows.
What's the likelihood of them going lower? Not very. And they're plenty high already. But if you really look at history, boy, after World War II, the tax rates were through the roof. We were talking upward 80 to 90%. Anyway, well, let's not segue there. So what we're doing and helping our clients reposition their current assets to get some money into a cash value dividend paying life plan where it has guarantees to grow. It does grow tax deferred. And when you need it for retirement income down the road, it is going to come out tax free.
Wow.
So if you're somebody that likes to know your tax footprint, well, you want to have this as a big part of your foundation, of your financial foundation. Now, where does this help out on the entrepreneurial side? Okay, so if you're always looking for a deal, which I am, your policy can act as a source of capital. And here's what gets rather interesting. If, let's just say you have, we'll just use easy numbers, $10,000 worth of capital inside your policy, you have access to 90% of that. No questions asked. You click of a button, it'll be in your bank account in a few days. But here's the beauty of it. When you borrow against your policy, it does not interrupt your guaranteed growth on your full value of your policy.
Wow.
And it does not interrupt your dividends you're going to be awarded at the end of the year.
So, to me, that's a big aha for people, because you would think that if I'm accumulating funds in this vehicle and I need to access it, where's the penalty? Oh, there's none. Oh, well, I'm going to now interrupt the growth. Nope, not going to do that. And okay, now you just said it's some type of a loan. So now what's the interest rate? And now I'm wasting money on interest payments. Nope, because whatever that rate is, it's being put right back into your own account. So it's like it's taking money out of your left pocket, putting it in your own right pocket. So it's kind of like, where's the catch on that, right?
That's you said it best. And it is
right.
This is not a new concept.
Yeah.
The funny thing is this goes back, 160, 70 years ago. And, all of our high net worth individuals have always had this in their plans, and they've been leveraging it for, centuries now.
I've heard, actually, is this true? Because I've heard that before, that even banks put our money, but when you and me put our money in the bank, they have to be so careful about where they invest the money because of FDIC and all that. They will open up these types of policies. And then also I heard that Walt Disney bought one of the original Disney resorts using his own life insurance policy. So yeah, this is not some new concept.
It's so true. J.C. Penney, he did it as well. I think even the McDonald's franchise even had a little bit in there. But it is such a powerful tool to have your money working in two places at the same time.
Yeah.
So A, in your policy, and B, in your new endeavor. And I'll give you a quick example. COVID hit, right? The world's turned upside down. Stock market went upside down, went on sale, right? Went on sale 35, 40%. Well, how easy was it for my clients to get access to capital to buy some, rock solid American companies at a 40% discount?
That we're going to come back over time.
Yeah, whether it comes back over a year or 5 years, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Because when you borrow against your policy, you're in total control of how and when to pay it back. Nobody's knocking on your door. You're the lender and the borrower in the equation, and your policy is the institution, and you get to control that.
That kind of ties back to your phrase that you use in your bio, bank on yourself. It's like, if you're the banker and you're the one approving, quote unquote lending, boy, you're the catbird seat, because you're not going to get turned down by some lending and submit 4 reams of paper and 4 months of time just to get denied. This is your money, your account, and you can parlay it and leverage it in some of these ways. That's a really great point.
That is so true. And back in my old days when I used to use banks for some entrepreneurial investments, it was tough to get them to lend to you.
Yeah.
They had so many hoops and regulations, and now I've literally rid them from my financial experience going forward. and it's funny, they now try to get your business when you don't need them.
Right.
It's liberating to be able to.
The interesting thing with what you've been saying here is, if you have like a piece of paper, you draw a line down the middle, and on the left hand side you put living benefits, and on the right hand side you put death benefits. Most of the time people think of the phrase life insurance as when you die you get the money, and that's a death benefit. You die and here's the money. But you're describing things that happen before a death were to happen. So yeah, this has death benefit, but everything you're talking about here has benefits that you're experiencing on the front end.
That's absolutely right. Capital will always attract opportunity. And another reason why I try to help my clients understand tying their money up into qualified plans where If you have to get back at that money, there's a penalty to do so, and you owe your taxes. And you may not even be able to get at it if you're still trying to get at money with your current employer. There's so many rules behind it versus building up these private institutions, if you will, for your own benefit.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really big. Go ahead.
Fast example of this. I remember I was in the hospitality and resort business for a decade. And do you remember the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico?
Yes. Isn't it the one where I'm picturing in my mind, like they have these birds or ducks just all laden with oil and washing up? And was that Valdez?
There was the Horizon out in the Gulf of Mexico. So I live in, Naples, Florida. Some people might know Fort Myers Beach area. Mm-hmm. So the beach was devastated. The tourism was devastated from this oil slick. And so many, high quality restaurants and resorts were just painfully shut down. And I'll be darned, one of my favorite restaurants there went up for sale. And it overlooks the Estero Bay and right to the mouth of the Gulf of Mexico. It's beautiful. So do you think any lender was interested in loaning me money to buy that business?
I'll bet not.
They'd laugh at you for asking because of all the oil in the water, and we don't know how fast it'll get cleaned up. However, because I had made that transformation in my life to get out of qualified plans, and I funded my cash value life insurance plans, I had access to capital, to which we were able to buy this fantastic waterfront restaurant on a serious discount. Yeah. But only because it was made possible because I had access to capital.
Right.
Now it's a 2-hour wait to get in.
Yeah.
So we
and you didn't have to go beg and say to the lender, well, here's my 9 years of tax returns and cash flows and assets, and please give me. You're just like, okay, hey, this looks good. I'm going to do my own due diligence, and now I can pull the trigger and move forward.
That's exactly right. Exactly.
So when you were describing about, and you worked for, whatever the company was, it's like, you'd think that I would have known this. Like if we were talking about a hot stock tip or a hot, investment strategy, anyone listening to this could go, oh, cool, I'm just going to call my guy, my gal. So what do you do that's different within this realm that's different than any other financial professional could do?
Well, I really give my clients a full MRI, financial MRI, if you will. And we can really predict if they continue down the same path they're headed for, what volatility they're going to experience, what potential tax implications they're going to experience, and do they like it? Yeah. And if they like it, then I guess they can stay the course. But we can then take the same data points and say, if we were to consider redirecting where your cash flow is going, potentially repositioning some of your cash and building up one of these policies, here's what you could accomplish. And it could be for anything as small as funding your future cars or college funding, or the big one, retirement planning. Because do you want to know what you owe in taxes at retirement, or do you want to guess? And so that's what I do. We can take what their current plan is and where it's headed without trying to stress about chasing rate of return, because that's where people get in trouble, and that's where volatility always comes in and takes back all your winnings.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of when you play chess and you make a move and you keep your finger on the piece and it's like, okay, I could still change my mind here, but is this a good move? And that's kind of like what your assessment can do. It's like, let's just see what you're doing now. Is that the best move for you, moving forward? And then if so, then that's great. If not, well, we can adjust.
Exactly. And one other fun fact is that when you're building up these policies, maybe you are considering paying for college for some of your kids. This is an asset that's private. It's a contract between you and an insurance company. And when you go and fill out your FAFSA forms for college funding, this is one asset that doesn't need to be disclosed.
Okay.
Which becomes another advantage.
Big. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For potential grants or scholarships or things like that.
So it's like ethical tax shelter or an ethical way to hide your money, quote unquote, because you're not hiding it. You're putting it in a IRS recognized vehicle that the colleges don't quantify. And if that helps you get some more college funding or grants, then wonderful. And if you get all the other benefits we've talked about, even better.
That's right. Exactly.
Interesting. Well, so what a neat conversation. I've really enjoyed learning from you. If someone is listening to this going, hey, maybe run that MRI for me, what's the best way that someone could reach out and connect with you, Marc?
Well, the best way is just write to my calendar, and you can do that by going to bookwithmarc.com. Now, I have to preface, Marc with a C, so bookwithmarc with a C.com, or you can go to my website, topwealthagenda.com, and you can even download a free chapter of my book right there.
Neat. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure talking with you today.
Well, it's been my pleasure, too, and if we can give some more education to your audience, all the better.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.